Welcome, Rodolphe. Thank you so much for joining me today and for having coffee with me. Would you like to introduce yourself quickly and tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to launch Spendesk?
Thank you for having me. Super happy to have this coffee with you today. So my name is Rodolphe. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Spendesk. Just a few words about myself. I'm 40 years old. I'm married and I'm a happy father of 3 little girls. My whole professional career has been in entrepreneurship. I've been created the first business just out of school. This is where I learned so much. I think I've made all the mistakes that an engineer can do in starting a first business. The first mistake that I often see, particularly for technical entrepreneurs, is you tend to build technical solution you love to build, but that doesn't solve any business problem. So that was my key learning at that time. For Spendesk, which is a company we created 6 years ago, I really wanted to solve a pain that I experienced and frustrated me in my previous working experience. I'm a huge believer, in organization where people are empowered to make decisions for the company, obviously on their scope, but also for the company. And while we're talking about the company money, even in the most modern organization or the most liberated organization, you come back into a very command and control mode. These processes are very bureaucratic, paper-based. You don't have the experience that you have, in your private life when you're spending your own money, right? You've got this huge gap between paying in your private life and paying at work. And the idea of Spendesk is really how can we liberate businesses, how we can liberate employees from all the constraints that comes from the control that is necessary and of the company money. This is exactly what we solve. We've been building this product where people, when they need to purchase things for their company, they've got just one solution they can go to that will deliver to them where they can access the payment method of the company when they need to make purchase, while we guarantee for the finance team all the control, the visibility, the traceability that they need, and the automation of most of the manual tasks that they have to do so they can focus on much high-value tasks.
That's amazing because you actually help everyone, not only the employees, but also the finance team to really save time so that they can spend more time on doing their actual jobs.
Exactly, and it's really a new way of seeing things. It's in the past, payment or just the company money, because it's the money of the company, so it's very hard to trust people, to spend money which is not there. So how we can build the right software, the right workflow, the right layers of control that really enable people to have much more freedom and much more context to make these decisions, while obviously guaranteeing this, that the job of the finance team is going to get done in a much simpler way than it was done in the past.
You're the user of your own product, which probably also helps you to much easier put yourself in your users' shoes and solve problems before they actually arise. Is that something?
Yeah, totally. And I guess, obviously since day one, we've been building our product and using our own product and learning as with our first customers and users, on the pains we were solving, if we're solving it the right way, the experience we are providing through our product. And it's very interesting also because as the organization grow, and Spendesk have been growing like a lot in 6 years, from obviously myself and my co-founder, and today an organization of more than 550 people. So you can see the how do you build your product that can grow with your customers, understanding, okay, the problem you had in the past when you were small were not exactly the same problem that you're having today. And there is always this question, should your product solve this problem or no? Or do you want to stay focused on a particular segment market that doesn't have this problem yet? And I guess the strategy that we had since the beginning is really making sure that it's all about learning, right? And particularly when it's a new way of doing things. So how can you learn from the new problem that your customers have and try to ensure that your product can fit their need as their organization grow and the complexity of their process is also growing exponentially.
Do you think that this was your biggest challenge as you scaled? Or was there other challenges that you faced during your found during the last 6 years that you think really impacted your business or that you had the most learnings from?
I guess the main challenge that we had at Spendesk was really, telling the world, and particularly 6 years ago when spend management didn't exist, as a category, it's the way payment have been managed or spending has been managed in a company have always been into this kind of fragmented, siloed approach, saying, okay, this is the category of spend we are managing and this is the right tool for this category of spend. But employees of today doesn't work like this anymore. If you want to give this freedom and this empowerment for people, they're going to use the company money for obviously travel, but also to purchase things online. So they can tap into the different category of spend in the company. And in the past, they had to use either different tools, different process, etc. But finance team were thinking in this way because this is how it was done. So basically, the experience of payment at work was bad. Everyone was telling that, but everyone was also telling this is the norm, this is how it is, right? So I guess the main challenge that we had was making the market understand, particularly in finance team, there is a better way. You don't need to centralize everything to get control. The software can help you do that, and now you can really liberate your teams. And so creating the demand, people know about the problem, they are not going to find a solution. So how do you create this awareness that there is this much better way of doing things? And I guess this was the challenge that we had in the early days. And now we can see the evolution of the market where it starts to be, kind of obvious that this is how businesses will operate in the future and try to operate now. But this transition in 6 years, where we've been evangelizing this market and putting this, pioneering this vision, I guess was the key challenge that we had in the beginning.
Having to educate an entire market, how did you manage to find your first customers?
Yeah, I guess this was the key challenge that we had at the beginning of the company, and it's still a challenge. Spendesk, in the way we see, how, in building this new norm, this new standard on how people should pay at work, it's a really new way of doing things, right? Spend management 6 years ago was not a word, not something that existed for the SMB mid-market segment that we are targeting, right? So the main issue that we had, or the problem to solve, was, okay, everyone has this problem, but they don't know that there is a new solution or a new way of doing things. So how do you create this demand, this awareness on your product, right? And normally, in a SMB mid-market, segment, the SaaS playbook is more an acquisition engine, building an acquisition engine, which is more, 100% inbound, very self-served, because that's the most efficient one, right? But for us, we could not get this traffic, this audience into our solution, because again, we had to explain how we see things, how this market needs to evolve. So the first customers, the first approach, the first engine in terms of acquisition that we built was purely outbound. That normally doesn't make sense, right, for this segment market, just because it's too expensive. But for us, it was working super well, reaching out to finance team, having them talking about their process and the pain they're having every day, and saying, we may have a solution for you. Do you want to try out? And we were very surprised in the early days that out of, I guess, 3 of these discussions, we had 2 opportunities. So that creates a very, very strong unit economics for your business. And this is the first scalable channel that we built.
What do you think, maybe looking ahead, what is the next big challenge that is coming for you, for Spendesk?
I guess when we take a step back and where we want to be, because we have this ambition to become this norm, this global standard on how we want people to pay at work in the future. We're just at the very beginning of this story, right? And so in the past 5 years, I guess, with the traction of the company, but the key assumption that we solved is this is the new way. This is validated. This is how business will work in the future. And looking in the next 5 years, it's the challenge that we have, or what the problem we need to solve is okay, from there and this validation and having a head start in this market, how do we become this reference? How do we scale the business? Are we going to serve tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of customers? And I guess looking forward, it's all about how do we scale our organization? How do we build an engine that allow us to actually tap into this huge market and in the end dominate it. There is a lot of unsolved problem here, both from an internal point of view. What's our ways of working? We're not working the same way when we were 50 to when today we are 550 organization, when we'll be 1,000 people organization, 2,000 people organization. How do we invent our own operating model that really match our culture, but is also very efficient in what we want to achieve, but also externally, how do we help businesses to adopt this solution and change their culture and their ways of working into a much modern way that will drive much more impact for their employees?
Yeah, I imagine. So how do you make the transition, because it's a new way of functioning and a new way of working? How do you make that as smooth as possible for them as well, and so that they can really see the benefits that they get?
It's very immediate as soon as you are on the product, etc. But again, it's a change of mindset that needs to happen. So, like every change, as you say, there is some reaction first, and there can be some fear. But this is the feedback we've got from all our customers saying, "I didn't imagine how much this product could change our way to operate in our business and how much it simplifies things." But at first, in every discussion before going into the product, there is a lot of, are the functionalities going to map my current process? I'm not sure that my employees will adopt this solution, etc. But then everything, goes out as soon as people are using the product. Yeah.
So, like you said, you have been an entrepreneur ever since you finished engineering school, and looking back, what number one advice would you give to somebody who wants to start their business?
One of the key mistakes that I made in my first business is to doing things and focusing on things that are not related to the key problem to solve. And when you are a founder, the key problem to solve, to me, in the early days, is making sure that the problem you're solving is a real problem and that you're building the solution that solves this problem. Everything else, honestly, everything else is just a waste of time. So my advice here that I've learned into launching different products on the market is really be extremely disciplined and focused into answering the different assumptions that you have in your market. From the problem to be solved, the solution you're building, how you're going to distribute this solution, and iterate very, very quickly to go outside of the gray zone. Most of the time it's, I don't know if it's working, not working. Okay, what can you do to make it either black or either white?
Yeah, solving a problem that people are actually willing to pay for. That sounds like it's really the key to launching a business that's going to work. So thank you. It was really great having coffee with you and chatting with you. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.